Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving. The Organizational Development Standing Committee of the Richmond City Council will now come to order. Uh, Mr. Clerk, if you will provide the chamber emergency evacuation announcement, followed by the approval of the minutes.
Emergency evacuation announcement. Upon activation of the emergency alarm signal, all persons should immediately exit the building. Please use the exits to the left or right front of the council chamber or the east or west stairwell outside the rear doors of the chamber. Do not use elevators or escalators. After exiting the building, security will direct everyone down 9th Street to the assembly area located inside the former public safety building parking lot. Able persons should assist visually and hearing impaired visitors with exiting the building. Madam Chair, all members of the committee are in attendance this evening, except for Ms. Robertson, Ms. Lynch, and Ms. Abubakar, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we'll proceed with the approval of the minutes.
The minutes to be approved are from the Monday, November 3rd, 2025 Organizational Development Standing Committee meeting. If there are no corrections or amendments, then the minutes will be approved as presented. Those minutes have been approved.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to reports, and the first reports will be the Parks Master Plan. Our Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Chris Frelke. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chris Frelke, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities. I'm very excited to be here. It's been a long road to get us this far. We've been working on this master plan for a long period of time. And I'm just going to remind everybody how long we've been sort of working on it so we can get everyone to see all the work that has got into this project. First of all, I also would like to thank my capital projects team before we get too much into this. Ryan Wren has been leading this effort, and Daniel Hazlett. Those two staff have done a tremendous job and have really got us to the point of where we can be proud of this plan. We're at 90% right now. So today is just to sort of give you a status where we're at, and at the end, we're going to ask for your help. But I also just wanted to give sort of the timeline of the ARPA, American Recovery Plan Act. We awarded $500,000 to do this plan. The RFP took about a year to get in place. Just to remind everyone, we had a lot of ARPA stuff going on, and we knew that this plan, we could make the deadline of December of 2026 with the plan. So we allowed other RFPs to sort of get pushed and prioritized due to the timeline for it. So it's why this one took a little bit longer, and we were able to get it finalized and kicked off in February of 2024. We had meetings, public workshops, community meetings, focus groups, surveys to roughly 24,000 engagement that we've had. For the master plans that a lot of you all have seen, I don't know if we've ever hit such a high benchmark, but we're really happy. And again, it goes to the leadership of Mr. Wren, his hard work that he has done, and his team, Mr. Hazlett. I think they really deserve. And also why it took us a little bit longer. The first round that we got back, we knew the numbers were a good reflection of the city of Richmond, and so we decided to keep pushing, go out and do more of the focus group and community meetings so we could get a better sample. So right now we're at 90%. And so today we are getting to the point where we are at presenting to you all. And December 19th, we will put the plan out to the public for the 60-day review, which will go to February 24th. It's actually a 64-day review that we're going to do. So we're going to go a little bit more than 60 days. But we want to get this final feedback. We want to make sure we got it right. We want to make sure that we listen to you all. We want to come to your district meetings. We want to come to other community meetings you might think would be great. We want to do one-on-ones if you want to do that so we can go through the plan. It's about 270 pages. I've read it. It's not a difficult read, but you want to spend a day set aside to go into it. There is an executive summary that will also provide some more details for you all on that topic. But we want to get out there. We want to see everybody. We want to make sure we get this right. We've invested this, and this is why we're coming here today. The last stretch, we want to make sure Any ideas or any thoughts on meetings or how you want us to engage? Some of you all have given us some dates to come to your district meetings. Some of you all, we've created creative ways to reach your communities. We're open to some of that. And then we'll come back around for council adoption and start the legislative process. We have not begun that today. This is just to provide an update for you all where we're at the 90% and also make sure as we go into this last phase, any thoughts or any ideas that we have that we do this in partnership with council. But one thing I do really want to show is how we engaged. And I don't think we can click on the little video to the right, but we knew that the most important people we wanted to hear from were our youth. You know, we took advantage of all of our after-school programs that we offer, and we went directly to them. So every after-school kid that was in our program did a survey of what they wanted their park system to look like in the future. And we have that as part of the appendices of all the drawings that they did, because these are the kids that this plan will benefit for years to come. We also went out in the community. Clearly, you can see some of the boards. We were in your district meetings, and we also did pop-ups throughout the city to make sure we had a good representative sample. Well, there we go. Thank you. But we just wanted to make sure, again, that the kids were really a huge priority for us, and to make sure their voice was heard. So this sort of also shows you a lot of time we got asked, and we've been asked this, did you look at all the other plans? Yes. We took all that into factors so that we could look at everything that was happening, all the breakdowns of all the different things that existed. We gave all that data to the consultant. This breaks down the workshops, the surveys. When we did this slide back at the 60%, we were at 19,000. That's why we're at 24 now. We're still working to get a new infographic on that, but it just shows you the different areas of how we were able to reach and really set a high bar again for community engagement. So what we heard. So these are the driving principles. And I think it aligns really well what you've been hearing in your communities for a long time. And now we have a document that will be sort of that guidestone for us. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on each of these slides. This one breaks it down to what we're trying to accomplish in the big moves, but it's also here. And, you know we want to improve access. We want to have a high quality park and a 10-minute walk or less for all of our residents in the city of Richmond. And so that means we need to prioritize investments, one, in underserved neighborhoods that don't have that currently, and how we connect those neighborhoods better, and how we look at those different ways, whether it's through greenway connectivity, bike lanes, or other opportunities for us to be able to do that. And high quality means we're going to have more definitions that we should have amenities in these parks, that we should have some of those different things that we're addressing deferred maintenance and all those pieces in that as access. You know, I love to show this is an event we did Juneteenth last summer, and it just shows you the amount of people. We had over 10,000 people at the Dell to help celebrate Juneteenth for this particular event. But we want to be able to create these safe, inclusive environments. We want to be able to have and celebrate public art and design. I mean, we have VCU Art School here. We have a lot of people that stay here. It is part of the character of our city, and we want to make sure we highlight that. And we also want to make sure we invest in our staff so that we have a high level of training, so that we invest in maintenance, and we also look at strategic partnerships and investment. One thing that we have learned is that we cannot do this alone, and we need to be a welcoming department that brings everyone to the table so we can move forward. And the key thing too here is that, you know, we have a lot of resolutions and that drive us to equity, and this shows us where the work needs to be done that aligns perfectly with what council has been charged staff to do for a long time, is how do we really start to invest in the historically underinvested areas, and then how do we also have a transparent process where we track and collaborate. So when you see this mapping here, you see the highest priority we need to focus on first, the dark blue. That's where we need to be going in. That's what we need to be doing it. And that needs to be where we have to go first if we really want to look at the lens of equity, because these are the areas that we have historically underinvested in and also lack the 10-minute walkability for our park system, and has different layers of, we know that people usually in this area are going to live 20 years shorter. They're not going to have access to healthy foods. They're not going to have access to other than the bus line, other forms of transportation. So we know all these are factors in that area. So we have to figure out how we help and move that forward as a department from at least a Parks and Recreation lens. And the other thing is that how do we help? Sustainability, I think, aligns perfectly with the Department of Parks and Recreation. It is definitely something we are proud to help work with our partners, not only just off sustainability, but lots of other partners in the area. I like to highlight TB Smith because it's going to be a gold standard lead. I believe it's the first at this high level of environmental sustainability in the city. And we're glad that it'll be the first one with this because of the solar roof and a lot of the other stormwater infrastructure that we've put in. We know that this department can help with a lot of the challenges that we face, help cool our neighbors, help clean drinking water, help us really build that infrastructure and tree canopy that is so important for all of us to benefit from. And we know we need to have that lens. And you see a lot of that in a lot of the district projects, from Southside Community Center to the work we've done at Blackwell recently. We're doing that throughout Hotchkiss. All those different places have a lens of that so that we can see the trees that we put along that trail, how that's all going to help and reduce sort of the heat impact by improving our tree canopy. And quality, like, we know that we've done a lot. We have seen a tremendous amount of investment from the mayor and city council over the last years, some of the highest investment that we've seen in decades. And we've seen our park system improve, and it's why we're rated one of the top, we're 16th out of 100. It's because of that investment. It's because of the work we have been doing. There's still deferred maintenance we need to tackle, but we're working through that. And again, like, you'll hear this over and over. It's our staff. It is partnership. It is all those different things that make us move forward. You look at the James River Master Plan and a lot of those other pieces. I use that as an example. We've been able to raise a ton of money by having the plan. So it doesn't mean the city has to be the only one coming to the table with the dollars. These plans help us get more dollars from federal agencies, state agencies, nonprofits, and other people to come to the table because we've shown we've done authentic community engagement and we're representing what the community would like to see. And of course, I like to always say this is why we're here. My job is to serve community. And so we have to figure out how we expand our programming, that we develop community gardens. We use these centers for resiliency hubs. And a big thing that came up, and this is some there where we need to continue to partner, and we've had some conversations with some nonprofits in the area. How do we improve local food access? You guys will see a paper, I think, get introduced soon that shows someone who's been doing the work for a long time and one creative way to potentially partner with an urban agriculture. We're going to look for more of those ways that we can continue to use that and use Parks and Recreation lands in some of these ways that our community would like us to see it. So just again, when I say we're going to begin the legislative process, we're kicking it off with you all right now. We're in the process of drafting the resolution to bring before council, but we have not entered that in the system because we wanted to come to you all first to really figure out what we do in this last final stretch from engagement. We're beginning this, and we would love to have our first master plan in place because we have not had one. But we also want to make sure we've got some of you we've been able to schedule meetings with. We still haven't been able to get on everyone's district calendar, so we want to make sure that happens. We've reached out to all the liaisons, so we just might need to hear back from a few on that front. But if there's other meetings that you want us to be at, we are very much and think could be a good idea is to sit down and do a one-on-one with counselors to go through the document, let you ask us the questions there, any other guidance that you have as part of this 60-day. We want this to be something that everyone has a good understanding of and really comfortable with. So when we bring it to you in March, there's not a lot of questions. You've seen it, you've asked your questions, we've done that. We've tried to put that out there so that we're all really excited about this plan when it comes into place at that point. And so again, we hope for the goal is for this to go live December 19th. So it's going to be the 270-some page document that will go online, that all the community can make edits, make changes to it, make their thoughts that we'll review. We're going to go out to community meetings and share some of these big things that we've seen and heard and have those different pieces. We want to be at civic associations. We want to go to your district meetings. We'll work with our friends groups. We're going to do some of the same engagement that we have embarked on to get us this far. But we want to make sure that if there's anything you want us at or anything that, we might say, yep, we're on that agenda, or we're like, oh, we didn't think about that. We just want to take that opportunity to work with you on that. And we're going to also try to do a media blitz so that we can get the word out for this last piece. We're so close, and everyone that, like, we did let the internal stakeholders, the city departments, review it first to get some feedback from that and get their ideas. And we've gotten really positive feedback from all of our internal agencies from the city that have reviewed it and feel like it did a good representation. We're really excited to share it with the community. Any questions?
Mr. Frelke, thank you. We have a few questions. I think one second. Councilmember Jones and then Councilman Breton.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Felke. I think when this process started 2024, I was just coming along. So I know I've missed a lot, and I see that you all have done a lot. I guess my question is the 24,000 number. Did y'all have a goal? Or, what was the goal? Because 24,000 for the whole city, is 24,000 for the whole city? Because that number seems kind of low, but it might be big based on what your goal was.
Yeah.
So that's my first question. And then my second question is it possible for us to see where the feedback has come from for this, in what areas by district? So that as you all are working and like saying, I know you said something about like maybe doing one-on-ones with us or thinking about other ways that we can engage, that would be super helpful as well.
No, that's a great question. And thank you for right setting. To give you an idea, the James River Master Plan did about 2,500 total. So the goal of sort of the consultant was about that 2,500 to 3,000 touch. So for us to do 24,000 is a good representative sample. We understand that we're not going to be able to get, and Councilor Redden probably knows as a data person, what good numbers are and but that was a really good. And part of the reason, Councilor Jones, was that when we did the first and got the first feedback, it wasn't representative of all the district. And now it's a better reflection because we went out and we were in front of different grocery stores and areas in the districts that we had low numbers because we did pull that data to try to improve that. We also worked with a lot of different partners to help really get out there to make sure I believe we can provide, we can provide to each of you all where that came from and who it is. But we were really happy because it's about 10% of the population, and statistical, like looking at data and stuff like that, they will do less than that to try to get that. So it was a good number. I don't think they've seen a lot of master plans get this level, especially if we look at some of the other ones that the city has conducted.
Follow up, Madam. That's why I wanted to clarify that because I didn't, somebody would be like, that's a low number. That's why I asked what the goal was so that we all understand that we actually are doing really well compared to what the goal was. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Councilman Breton.
Thank you. So I know that we have a goal of access where people can walk to a park. And so is it within the purview of this plan to analyze and describe, the access outside of the park, which might be DPW's responsibility to make accessible? So should we expect to see discussions in this plan about the access points around a park that are outside of the park?
Let me make sure I got your question. Let me say it back and see if I heard you correctly. When we look at this and look at how we do 10-minute walkability, does it open up the option to count already owned city property into that 10-minute walk to add into that? Or does it make us want to convert it to park space? If that makes sense.
I mean, that's an interesting question about city space that's not a park. I didn't mean that. I know I've asked you that before. I'm asking now about if we want people to be able to walk 10 minutes, are we doing the work of analyzing how safe that 10-minute walk is? So the likelihood that somebody might actually even take that 10-minute walk, right? And you might not really be in a position to make that walk safer because it's outside of your park property. But I'm wondering if this master plan kind of delves into that subject to create goals or metrics around how accessible these parks are.
So I believe, and I'll look at Mr. Wren as make sure I am providing the accurate answer. Currently, our metric right now is 10-minute walkability without the safety feature. However, we can submit documentation into the Trust for Public Land that looks at that other lens of, do we have sidewalks that do that? Do we have safe routes to parks? Do we have those? And in the plan, one of the goals is for us to develop a safe routes to parks objective and how we make sure we have that in place. So that will guide us to do that. I'm not sure the plan actually tells us exactly how to do the safe routes, but it guides us to create a plan that should have that in place. Is that a fair answer. Anything else you want to add? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm not sure exactly like which department, I should be tasking this with, but somebody should have the task of making sure that all those routes to the parks are safe,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's your responsibility to flag it or someone within DOT and DPW to flag it, but I would expect or hope that would be somewhere in the plans.
Yeah, no, and I think, we're real familiar with safe routes to schools. So it's now just taking it to the next level to figure out how we create the safe routes to parks.
My second question, I only have two, is this parks master plan, should we expect it to dive into like programming, or is this mostly about the physical space of these parks?
So part of it was to get for programming. And so if there's other ideas or other things that are not in here, we want to definitely do that. But yes, it's supposed to address both parks and programming.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Gibson?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for this presentation. A couple of thoughts. I am excited to see the plan when it's published, and I think that will certainly answer a lot of the questions that I have. I think that I am curious, the kind of discussions that you've had, the surveys, the focus groups. I'm curious to know how granular, or how abstract the discussion was. Was it in terms of these kind of large goals, or, were there opportunities or where people were looking at actual neighborhoods and discussing placement and kind of what the actual what the map might look like. And so I'm curious to know the kind of the level of detail that the input was. And I think following up on Councilwoman Jones's point, the ability to see what that feedback was and whatever that documentation looks like, it would be really very helpful. I think that also as we are entering a budget season, and obviously, the executability, the reality of translating concepts into reality is certainly tied to dollars. And so I'm curious what whether the plan is mapped also against potential budget, both in terms of capital needs and in terms of operational expenses for programming and such. So it would be helpful to see how that comes together with what's presented on the 19th. And then finally, I wanted to just, kind of share my thoughts just in terms of the timeline for what it's worth. I think that I appreciate all of the engagement that's happened to date. But I think it's important to do as much of the engagement after the material's been published as it is to do before. I think it's critical. We're certainly seeing that very very concretely as we're talking about the code refresh. And I've been so proud to see residents really get very close in understanding the technicality, the kind of all of the technicalities as it pertains to the code refresh. And I can tell you in the 3rd District, I know residents are going to have the same interest as it pertains to this plan. And so, I mean, if you describe this as a 200-page document, if the document's going to be reviewed and presented to the public for the first time in December, right before the holidays, I have some hesitation about our ability to vote and adopt it as a body in March. And so I think I personally would feel there'd be substantial benefit to allowing more time for people to react, right? So it's like, hey, we did this engagement, right? Here's what that came back with, and then did this match up? Did we hear you? And if not, do we make some adjustments and allowing the community to be as engaged as that refining process takes place?
Yeah, no, and I think I had roughly 4 questions, so I can try to answer all those, and if I left one, I'll come back or remind me. But the first one was sort of how that engagement happened, and it was a pretty wide, different one depending on the level. So there was a survey that we did first that was a pretty comprehensive survey. we went back and sort of made this, simplified the survey so that it could be a little bit easier for everyone to do. So that was sort of how we did the survey data and trying to get some of those different pieces with our consultant. I also will look to Mr. Wren to make sure if I miss any of these pieces on that. In the focus groups, those are going to be a lot more in-depth conversation that you're having with individuals on that and what they want to see and how we want to get that. Same with the community meetings that we might have you fill out the survey, but we're also going to sit there and say, design your park of the future, or what are the things that you love about your park? What are the things you want to have improved about your park? What are some of the different aspects in the park? And then same thing with the youth. You know, we let them sort of dream and draw and give us some of that guidance. And all these different pieces will be part of the appendix in the document, so that we'll be able to see how we got the feedback and how all those different pieces on that front. As for the funding and some of those different pieces, yes, it's going to sort of say you need to fund these type of things, you need to put dollars in these type of things. This is where the investment should go, and some of those pieces. And it was a good guide for us, even at 90%, to know what we should be trying to request in this year's budget, you know, as a guide star for us on that front. So we were able to use that. You know, we paused this because we didn't get the engagement we thought early on. So if we feel after originally the consultant recommended 30 days, so we doubled that to 64 days. We wanted to do that. We knew it was over the holidays. We wanted to give that type, you know, and double what sort of the standard has been. But if we get into this and we feel like we haven't been able to hit your district, so you're hearing things that people have some concerns like there was with COVID, we're always open to sort of looking at that. But it also really helps us to have this document, you know, like if it takes another 30 days, another 60 days, we've done that sort of process. You know, we have till December 2026 to complete this. So we hear you, and that's something that as we get into this and we feel like we need more time, we've done it before. That's why it took us as long as it did, because we didn't, to Councilor Jones' point, when we got the first results, get a community engagement that I was proud with. You know, they were like, oh, you hit your 2,400 people, but we didn't hit 2,400 people we wanted to hit. So that's some of the things that we need to still look at. I feel like there was a fourth question that I might be missing.
I think that I was focused on, you know, I think it'll be helpful to see the document. And so I guess I would encourage us to perhaps in our subsequent OD meeting in January to regroup after the document has been published, so that council members have an opportunity to ask questions publicly, as you know, citizens are also, residents are also reviewing and digesting. Perhaps we can share some of the initial thoughts publicly at that time. But yeah, I mean, I think that you know, in my district there is a lot. I think I've seen in here a lot of interest towards being able to maintain what we have. I think that in Bryant Park in the 3rd district, this is a topic that comes up again and again, you know, especially given the variety of uses that the park has, both in our internal or city programming and also by outside groups. So I think my hope is that the plan addresses all of the uses that we have and kind of gets to the question of, you know, how can we make sure that we are maintaining what we have in addition to having a plan for growth moving forward that meets the needs that we have as we continue to grow.
Yeah, I think it will do a good job looking at that different piece.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. Good seeing you, Mr.
Good seeing you.
Like always, and your team. Appreciate the work you all do and the engagement that you are very intentional about. I really, really, really appreciate that. I want to comment a little bit and ask a few questions as relates to slide 9 that you showed earlier, the one that deals with equity. I do think that there are lots of different initiatives that have been put out as it relates to equity. I'm still not comfortable that we are coordinating those efforts to the degree that is necessary to be able to do that. And I'm looking at, you know, as Ms. Gibson mentioned earlier, code refresh. I'm looking at the cultural heritage plan. And, you know, we look at these maps and these maps all look the same. Mm-hmm. They all look the same. And they've been looking like this for I know they've been looking like this for the 25, 30 years that I've been directly engaged in services here in the city. And it's troublesome because at some point, I'm not comfortable that our new plans, not just identifying priority areas, but actually making commitments to make those things happen. And because we have been so intentional with our disparity as to how we have invested, I'm really looking for the same level of intentionality as it relates to trying to correct the things that we've done wrong for many, many years in the city. And that means that we can't keep thinking that equal is okay while we trying to recover from the lack of equity. And so when I look at these priorities, I think that a lot of the blue area that we see south of the river is the old annex area of the city that was done for the wrong reasons from the beginning. And because it was done for the wrong reason, we have continued to do policy that enforces that wrong policy. We went to a ward system as a result of our wrong policy that we put forth with this annexation. And now we are facing the same political challenges, even with the ward system, that is not producing equity for us. And so a couple of questions that I have. One is, I want to make sure that the priorities really focus on the areas that have been the greatest in the disinvestment. And Southside certainly, is a large part of that, and most of that blue area is the annex area. But it is very clear that not only the disparity as far as that disinvestment, it aligns racially and it aligns wealth. The poor folk in the city have been really devalued in every way that we could do it. And the same is true with race in the city. I look at the gentrification that has taken place over a long period of time in Churchill and the east end of the city. And you still have one little corner, which happens to be Fulton Bottom, that still is dark blue. And you look at other areas and you know what's there. I mean, you just know what's there. I mean, if you live in the city, you know what you're looking at. So I'm really concerned that when we look, I am too looking forward to looking at the full plan. And hopefully I'll do my due diligence and get involved and give you all of my feedback in a timely way. Public housing. I know that most of the public housing is not under our management. But I also know that many of the challenges that we face greatly is because we intentionally concentrated the extreme poor and have refused to provide essential services. And so they may not be in the heavy blue as much in the heavy blue on South Side. Most of the heavy blue on South Side is due to the fact that do we have a master plan for the city of Richmond for infrastructure? That's one of my questions. Second question is, how high is the priority for where we intentionally segregated the lowest income people into public housing? Where does that land here? The other question that I have is whether or not uniformity. So if we look at the areas that are in cream on the map that have excellent facilities and have always had excellent facilities and programming, are we looking at the value of the uniformity of those areas that investment have been made for the areas that we're now prioritizing for our top uh, investments. One of the things that have often been asked, should we have a park and rec, like a membership kind of thing, like the libraries? Everybody has a library card. That hasn't worked. No, most people are pushed back on it. But I think it's the same for the same reason why we see the disparity. But if I have a park card, like I do a library, I should be able to go to any library in the city of Richmond, get the same quality of service, whether it's in the far west end or whether it's in the far east end or lower south side. I think there's a measurement in that. I'm not suggesting that it is, but I think when we look at quality and value, I think there's something to be said about whether or not we see the city as needing to have the same quality of services throughout. And so I really want to know whether or not that's a tool that is being used to determine what we put into these maps. And then the last question, and hopefully you'll remember them because I may not remember all of my questions, is that the overlay of our heat maps and how that's factoring into this. Thank you. Thank
So
you, Madam President.
The heat maps are factored into this and it's overlaid in that. So we looked at a lot of different pieces and we can get to you like all the different factors that drove that. There's your the second question though that I had a really good answer for, and I'm trying to remember what you asked. So yeah, so one of the things, the surveys, one of the things that is going to ask us for quality is that we need to start doing, a survey after every program that we do. One of the things that was interesting that we found from the master plan, and we did break down the data, that people of color actually have a much higher rating of a recreation program than people that are white. Because we primarily serve people of color. So we really wanted to see their feedback and how they rated it. And we got much higher ratings across the board because of the level of service that we provide in those programs. The other thing to think about too with this map, this was done as a benchmark when we first started the process in 2024. It's almost, or a little bit before that, when they were compiling all the data. It doesn't show any of the ARPA investment or any of the capital projects that we really worked on in the last 18 months. So you're going to see some of these areas not be as darkly blue and start moving in the right direction, to your point. We're working on that and we've made a lot of improvements. I think most of you all can tell that the parks are looking better in your district than they did 8 years ago. Are they where we want them to be? No. But we are starting to have more running bathrooms. We're starting to see those different pieces. One thing that I am proud of when we do the Trust for Public Land score, I think it's about 225% people of color have more access to park systems than people who are white. So our city is doing better jobs in making sure we have some of those, but part of our challenge is that we have historically underinvested in parks and recreation. So even though they have better access, the quality is just as low throughout there. This gives us a guide that we need to really focus in the blue first, and I think we've done that. I mean, we have a lot of projects in these districts that are coming to fruition and will give us that. We're excited that after the first year, we're probably going to have some goals already attained from the master plan because we've been working on that, and we'll see some of our 10-minute walkability improving, some of the different things because we're looking at benchmark data from 18 months and we're not seeing the historic investment that we have. So I think it's moving forward on that. And I think that hopefully you've seen our department's commitment to doing that as best as we can to really work in these areas and move them from dark blue to eventually cream. Like that's when we know we're being successful. And I think we have a whole list, and I don't want to, but of what we've worked on and where we're seeing improvements. Just some of that hasn't counted there. But this also, as that gets a little bit more cream in that area, they're still going to be blue. How do we get that dark blue? And so we can be more laser focused in our approach and really go down to figure out, hey, does the Department of Public Works or DPU own parcels of land in that area that would help make that? Is there a partner group that we can work with, or do we need to buy land in that area? Like this will help us really focus in to how we address those needs. And we have a document that, again, I'll say will be our guide star. This will tell us, when there's some priorities to fund A, B, or C, we can say, well, we really need to focus a lot in these areas and make sure we have that there before we go into an area that has a high quality RI has those different pieces.
Madam President, thank you, Chris. Let me, a couple of questions. One,
Councilwoman, if I could come back to you.
is just a follow-up, if you don't,
Okay.
but if you prefer.
No, I had other members who had questions as well, but
I'll
go
wait.
on.
I'll wait.
Councilwoman Trammell?
Chris, I want to say thank you for your work that you do. Thank you for all the help that you've given, not only in my district, but all over Southside. And I know that before you came here, Marty Jewell would sit right up here scream and holler about we need more parks, we need more activities for our children, because they don't need to be on the streets. If we had more community center, more things like that that we could offer these children, that would help them. And you have carried that through, you and the previous mayor. So I just want to say thank you and the previous mayor, because y'all fought hard. And also, the previous mayor also made sure that I had 5 parks. And you were right there when we did the one over there by Concord Avenue, right there, Lynn Haven. And I know that they have signed, pictures and all that. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do and all that you continue to do. I want to say that, some of my colleagues always talk about the poor people, the poor people, the poor people. But when it comes time to do something for the less fortunate ones, like lowering the real estate tax, it's always voted down no. That's no fault of yours. But I just want to get that clear because I get so sick and tired of sitting up here and hearing it. And then when it comes for the vote, no. I mean, then you find a $22 million surplus that I kept saying there was going to be more and probably more. But anyway, I just know that you work very, very hard for all of us and that you listen to the citizens and you and your team, you got a great team. And I just want to say thank you for all that you do. And we love the T.B. Smith Community Center. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Trammell? You're done. Councilwoman Robertson?
Thank you. Speaking of poor people, let's make sure we don't leave them out. Our map shows us what we have done in the past, and we want to correct that. My follow-up question was, one of the questions that I asked at the beginning, Madam President, was as to whether or not we have a good public infrastructure plan. I'm not expecting that you would answer that necessarily, but I do think that as we put together these master plans for the city, that's a major, major challenge, and it needs to be aligned with other great development that we're doing. The other recommendation that I'd like to put out, and perhaps you have done this, Richmond Public Schools has a lot of open space. Well, not a lot, but they have open space. I'm not sure that we have a great partnership relationship with them as to how we utilize that space. And it would be excellent if we can incorporate that in some public policy process with Richmond Public Schools to utilize, where we have the city and Richmond Public Schools as a strong, committed partner in that way. That would be very helpful. And the other thing I'd just like to suggest is that with that economic development, when we look at Manchester, we look at many areas that we've done a lot of development. There is not necessarily a policy that speaks to density and open space as a land use policy for the city to incorporate in this economic development. And I think that will help us a long way down the road. It's not having to build a full recreation center, but when we perhaps look at a way from a land use policy that we can mandate so much green space for certain development land, and in any development that comes before us will help us be proactive and address it in smaller increments and therefore keep us ahead of the game. Those are just some recommendations that you probably have already taken into consideration. You all cover a lot of these critical points, and I know that you do, but just wanted to put that out there just to make sure that we're taking those things in advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lynch.
I just wanted to echo the importance of Councilmember Robertson's comments about the relationship and collaboration with schools. We had a conversation recently that illuminated our both the challenges and the opportunity for collaboration with RPS. We will be getting so RPS is actually working in collaboration with the administration. I'm sure you all will be brought in soon, and they're working with Sharon Ebert's shop, DCAO Ebert, to really kind of develop a policy about how to handle some of the land that they have currently in both vacant and occupied space for RPS. So I think it's a great thing that they're leaning on some of the cities, not our, but some of the cities' expertise to kind of help guide them through a process and to create a process. And we should be getting an update on that during our December EHS meeting. So we will keep, if you want to attend that meeting or if there's anything that we can share with this group, we're happy to do so. But I was really hopeful to hear that. And I think it's, again, probably one of the greatest areas of opportunity that we have.
Councilwoman Trammell, did you have another question?
Yes. I'm glad that it was brought up today about code refresh, because as I look at this, Chris, and look at all the things that you put out there, I know that next Thursday, Kevin Vonk is coming to our meeting to let us know more about code refresh, because a lot of people do not fully understand it and do not like the way that it's being presented out there now. Because it looks like all the things that you're talking about in here is going to destroy our Black neighborhoods, our poor neighborhoods, because they're going to put a house here or there. Anything that they decide to do, I guess they would not have to come to have permits. I know that's going on in my district right now. People are building with no permits whatsoever. And don't know why, when we report these things, nobody's going out there to check on it, because this code refresh is not passed yet. And also, we talk about equality, we talk about sunlight, we talk about, these high buildings that's going to block the sunlight, trees that's going to come down, no grass space, no green space, and all of that. And these are things that I know that you've been fighting for with us for these parks and things like that. So if this code refresh gets passed, God help the whole city, because it's just not going to affect just South Side. It's all over, because I think there's 77,000 parcels that could be developed. So I hope that that we can focus on that, and because that right now that should be right out in the front, because I know that a lot of people are calling me from all over other districts telling me, do not support this. This is not good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Vrelke, I want to say thank you for an in-depth body of work. I really appreciate the mixed methods for outreach and the volume that you've had thus far, which is pretty notable, because hitting 24,000 for us hasn't been an easy lift, and nor the rule, more the exception. I really appreciate the connectivity and review of the other plans. We have all these parts and pieces, but how do we string these together and see where the overlap is? And so I really am appreciative of that. I think just a couple of things as we go forward. Parks and recreation are not a nicety, it's a necessity. And having as part of our consideration of community benefit agreements with any development, I think, will be critical going forward and speaks to some of what members have raised. You're going to have big build, but will you have parks? Will there be connectivity to the trail, to all those kind of things? And so being really vigilant about that will be important from my perspective. I think also to some of the things that were raised, once we have an overall plan, doing it overlay with the district so we can see where some of these things are playing out by district and addressing some of the concerns that have been raised, equity, equality, et cetera. So thank you. I also appreciate something. Yes, we have a lot of parks and we're doing great work, but one of the things early on was periodically doing an inventory, not just the number, but the content of them and the quality of what's there. Are they ADA accessible? The condition of things? And so that's an ongoing component of our work as well. There are some other parts, but I know we're going to meet. And I really wanted to say thank you for this is a major effort and look forward to the next iteration. And with the concerns and questions that have been raised thus far, I think we will have pretty phenomenal. Number 16 will probably be at number 1 in the rating. So thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
We will now proceed to some updates. And yes, our council chief of staff, Mr. Warren.
Good afternoon. May it please the committee. This is RJ Warren, your council chief of staff. I want to thank you for this opportunity to provide you all with an update after my first 6 months as your council chief of staff. I plan to discuss what we've accomplished together so far, how we strengthened the office to better serve you, and plans moving forward. I want to start off by thanking you for the opportunity to serve as your chief of staff for the past 6 months. My goal has been to build structure and team capable of providing you all with strategic support, enhance research capacity, and improve coordination with city administration. Now, at the 6-month mark, you might be asking how I'm holding up in the position. One member asked me how I was sleeping, and I said, when my head hits the pillow, I'm out cold. You guys keep me that busy. And I go straight to sleep, but when I wake up, I'm genuinely excited to get into the office, to engage with you all, and to work alongside the staff on the 3rd floor and my colleagues throughout this building. I knew this job was going to be demanding and time-consuming. What I did not anticipate, though, was just how much I enjoy working with my colleagues on the 3rd floor. Your staff are talented, committed, and they're collaborative, and we generally really enjoy working well together on your behalf. I'm going to talk a little bit about the office structure at the moment. I recently hired a deputy chief of staff, Julie Caldwell, and she's handling more of the internal operations and supporting our staff. And that allows me the flexibility and time to directly serve you all. That allows me to serve as your liaison with the mayor, the CAO, city administration, and also amongst yourselves. I find myself often being the facilitator, liaison amongst the 9 of you all. In the office, we plan to hire 2 more policy analysts, and with the goal of having a policy analyst available for each standing committee. And what this is going to do is it's going to strengthen our committee preparation, our research capacity, legislative drafting is going to be strong coming out of our office, more boards and commission support. And when you guys have in-depth questions that require a lot of analysis and time, I want our staff to have the capacity, the time to dive deep and provide you all with solid analysis without always having to rely on getting information from city administration. I want to be able to have fellow colleagues in the office have the time and capacity, information to get you the information you all are requesting among us. We will also have 2 additional positions available in our office for us to hire as we see fit. I'm seeking your input on what could be most supportive for you all. Is it more help with public information and communications, social media, perhaps constituent services is something we can improve on in our office, or some other specialized role that you all have thought of for a long time that could be brought to my attention. Feel free to engage with me after this meeting with any suggestions that you may have on that. I just want to touch on some what I believe are deliverables we've achieved together in this first 6 months. When I first came on, I was assigned to help lead the budget review task force alongside Vice President Jordan and Councilor Robertson. And I believe we've produced real reforms, including moving the budget up, submission budget up to March 11th, and strengthening the availability of the public to engage with you all during the budget review process. More public hearings will be taking place this year. And we're going to be improving how the budget work sessions take place. We've strengthened transparency, as far as I'm concerned, with ensuring adequate public review time of legislation. This is to avoid surprises or on the public or you all when it comes to expedited resolutions. We've tried to get things introed if we have time, and if not, then we get them online beforehand so the public and council can review those. That is not done just by me. I want to thank the city attorney and the city clerk for working alongside me on advocating for that transparency. We work well together, and they have been an equal partner in that. Also, help coordinate your legislative priorities for the 2026 General Assembly session. That was a group effort along with your 2 Capitals Consulting lobbying firm and the director of the Intergovernmental Affairs for city. Current priorities at the moment, as far as our office is concerned, is preparing for the FY27 budget development. At this time, we have our December 4th priority setting meeting with the mayor. That'll be facilitated by VML this Thursday. And going forward, we'll be working on implementing more reforms suggested by the Budget Review Task Force. That is expanding public hearings, creating efficient work sessions, and establishing structured procedures for deliberate budget discussions amongst you all. Also, the policy team is going to continue to get stronger, or we're going to invite you all to participate in monthly meetings with the entire policy team, one-on-one with you all, to put our full muscle at your disposal when it comes to policy, legislation, and oversight. I will be inviting you all to those meetings soon. We're developing standard operating procedures in our office, and that's for accountability to ensure high-quality work. And in addition to that, our office has been invited to participate in the HR-led performance management pilot program. This is an opportunity to provide an equal footing with staff and supervisors to build upon a year-long goal of your work goals when it comes to maybe trainings, when it comes to your responsibilities in the office, and what you both hope to collectively succeed on that year. And continuing to manage the General Assembly legislative agenda as the General Assembly session begins in January. And then just to kind of close out, I asked if I could present before you all this 6-month mark because I wanted to give you all an opportunity to provide your constructive feedback to me. As we structure the team going forward, please share what gaps you see on how we support you and how we can improve. And your input will directly impact how the office will move forward to provide you more effective and efficient work. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. It's an honor to work for City Council, and it is a privilege to serve my fellow city residents. So thank you so much. I'm available for any discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Are there any questions? I know you've asked us to provide feedback, and so we'll do that electronically through emails or communication directly to you relative to the positions. But let me first go to council members, and Councilwoman, can't tell who's first here, so Councilwoman Trammell, Breton, and then Jones.
I'm sorry, what?
You are up
Thank you.
for comment.
I just want to say to you, RJ, thank you for this. because, all the years that I've been here, I've never had a chief of staff come before us and give us the 6 months overall about what he or she has done. And I really, really appreciate this. And I think you're doing a great job. And also, I want to thank you for mentioning Candace, our city clerk, and also our city attorney, Laura. We're working with you, and you're not afraid to ask questions, and you're not afraid to come to us when you fully don't understand exactly when we send you an email or a text. You don't mind saying, "Hey, can you fully explain this better to me?" So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Looks like Councilman Breton and then Councilwoman Jones.
So, I mean, some of this is feedback that I could give you directly in terms of, my goals and impressions, but I figured it's also helpful to say it to the group so we all know what everyone is saying about our impression and our goals and things. And I will say that I am impressed with the professionalism that I'm seeing out of staff right now. I haven't been here long enough to know what to compare it to, but I have all the faith that you are running a very well-run operation, and I can count on you to run, efficient groups within the council office. So I love to see that, which means that I think I'm able to have optimistic expectations on where we can go next. Like, I really think that people are expecting more than ever out of us, and I think we're actually well positioned to start doing that. So, I mean, this is just my personal opinion, but I'll just say it out loud to everyone. Like, I would like to see us thinking long term about thinking of this as a full-time office where we have more staff capable of more things. We have more policy staff. We have more comm staff. But I think that before we get there, I think we should set, goals about what are the deliverable metrics that we can achieve about the way that we manage our policy team, the way that we follow up on policies that we've written, the way that our policy team, is able to, manage the things that we do. And I would love to see us meet those goals and use that as proof to actually expand out our teams even more once we've done that. That's where I would like to see us going. I'm very optimistic that we're headed that way. When it comes to other types of help, you mentioned those, we have extra seats. What comes to mind? I know that I'm always looking to do more and more with my constituent outreach and my communications, but I sometimes struggle to wonder whether or not it would be fair to use shared resources to do that, right? And so that's obviously would be a question we would all wrestle with. Like, how would we manage if we wanted more resources for things like that? What would be the appropriate way to get those resources and to share them if we even could? So I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that in addition to policy, all the other constituent and community outreach that we do, I think there is room to use more resources there, but we would have to decide the right way to get those resources and govern those resources.
Thank you, Councilman Breton, and please feel free to provide Mr. Warren in further communication, whatever the form suggestions. Councilwoman Jones?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for this, RJ. I am not going to go into my laundry list of things. I will get you offline. But I do want to say, as many of my colleagues mentioned, I really appreciate the work that you have put in these 6 months. You are very attentive, very responsive. You listen, and once you listen, you actually come back with a solution. And I really appreciate how you've been cross-functional with the other departments that support council and have really been working to get us aligned on the things that we have going on. I agree that it can be hard to manage 9 different personalities, and so I can only imagine. But I literally see how you have been intentional in trying to get us all on the same page. And you are making, it's music to my ears, because as like me and my former colleague over here, we laugh all the time when it comes to like meetings and all. I'll be like, chop, 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 let's go. And you are really getting us streamlined, which is important so that we can do the work that we were all elected to do and not be bogged down by spending a lot of time in meetings. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing and onboarding the staff and getting them to learn a little bit about us and helping with our liaisons. It feels like, as Mr. Breton said, it's coming together, and I really do appreciate you and the work that you've put in from when you started. We asked you, I remember we said in the interview, I believe it was, we was like, well, what does success even look like? Because we've been through so many different chiefs of staff, but this is what success looks like when we begin to really start seeing the impact and the fruits of us working collaboratively and not individually. So thank you again, and I look forward to working with you and more to come as we build out these processes and procedures, because yes, to me.
Thank you. Councilmember Lynch?
Well, again, I want to echo the sentiments of all of my colleagues. I mean, I think you are, without question, doing an amazing job, and we've had quite a few chief of staff, so we can say that you have set a new bar, for certain. And just kind of more of a question for you, as to what you feel your office needs from us in regards to budget and support, and what can we do to make life easier for you. And I know that's a very loaded question, so you don't want to answer that right now. Do not feel obligated, but I mean, I think that's as we kind of approach budget season, and the time is upon us to really reflect on what council's needs are. To Councilmember Breton's point, what additional staff, et cetera, do we need? But any guidance that you can provide for us on that would be great.
Yes, I can just give you a quick answer on that one, and it is just don't be shy. If you have a thought, concern, a request, I'm available at all times to take your call, to go ahead and start analyzing what can be done. And then personally, especially specifically the budget for next year, anytime there's work that can be done that can probably be put off to next week, we're, as an office, we're not doing that. We're taking it on that day if we have the time, because you never know. One thing I've learned, you never know what emergency is going to pop up or what other legislation or policy development is going to all of a sudden take away that free day that you think you had. So when you have the time, you go ahead and get to work on it.
Thank you. Councilmember Gibson?
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you so much for this presentation. I want to reiterate the perspective of my colleagues. I don't have anything to compare it to, but I've truly enjoyed collaborating with you, and I'm so excited to see how the team continues to evolve as we move forward. I think that what I have truly appreciate is the ability to navigate in an environment that is both incredibly congenial but also highly political. And we all are also people with many different opinions, and finding a way to pull people together is, it's an art. And I appreciate your ability to do that. I think that as we are talking about the structure of the team, I'm really very excited that we are looking to bring on more policy folks on the team. I share the perspective of Council Member Breton, who is looking to grow the team. I mean, and I think that developing policy is a really very time-consuming process, and there are lots of complexities that go into it if we want to do it the right way, which I know we all do. And so, I certainly will continue to advocate and support getting those additional resources in place. I think that the constituent report, support is also very important, and I'm excited about the additional support we'll have with communications and outreach. I think all of these things have very direct, benefit for residents across the city. I know that residents have really truly come to appreciate and rely on our liaisons, and your ability to keep everyone up to speed is with much appreciation. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Robertson?
Thank you, Madam President. I thank you, RJ, for the wonderful job that you've been doing. Thank you for even applying for this job. It's really good when we have the opportunity to do promotions within. And when we have employees that unlike some of us that may not have had the experience, you have had the experience of sitting in a position and knowing what this council is about, has been about. And I will say I am more than surprised and pleased with the quality of leadership that you have brought to the office. I really am. And I've shared that with you before. Um, you've got excellent management skills, excellent operational skills, excellent capacity of selecting and hiring people, excellent skills in helping your team to understand the total teamwork, and excellent skills in using the capacity of the folk that are on your team. And I'm grateful to hear you say that you recognize the quality of staff that has been working in this office for a while. And I see you doing a much better job in making sure that all of them have an opportunity to share the extraordinary skills that they have with the city of Richmond. I just want to continue to encourage you to be able to sleep well at night, to always remember that you have a family that loves you, and that it's very important that we recognize the fact that as a company, as a city, as a government, that our employees, that we honor and respect them to the degree that you have time to have a full life is meaningful and valuable, or more meaningful and valuable than what you do when you're here. That's extremely important, not only for you, but for the entire team that is working with you. And we want to always honor and respect that. And I would also suggest to you, I agree, this 6-month report, when I saw it this morning, I was very impressed. I'm not surprised as much as more as to the things that I see come from you. I kind of, when I see it, I kind of think, yeah, that's RJ. That's exactly what he would do. But I would encourage you also to think about a proposal that you would like to make to council on some frequency of things that we need to do differently, that would make things work better, not only for your office, but for the city as a whole. And hopefully we can bridge the communication and the working relationship with the administration so that that big sign that we have up there, one city, our city, that we work that way, that we are not competitive, that we are complementary, and that we're doing the things that are necessary. And I want to thank Ms. Reed as well. I kept looking over there a few times when you were speaking because I was looking for that gleam in her eye, that I know that she's very proud that you had the experience of working with her, and that I want to give her her due for what we have achieved in her leadership and working with you and what you have brought to the city as well. Thank you so much. We'll greatly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robertson. Vice President Jordan.
Thank you. Just wanted to say how much I appreciate what you have done. And in particular, I would say like the communication. It's direct, it's timely, it's concise. I also really appreciate that we're bringing in the opportunity for all of our staff to have this kind of feedback, which I think we haven't always been good at least on my time on council. So really enthusiastic about your update on the performance management enhancement so that, whenever everyone on the third floor can feel like they're also being given some clear guideposts and feedback. But yeah, I think, it's been rewarding to see a lot of the ideas we have had come to fruition when it comes to reorganizing the office. And we have great staff, existing, former, current, new. It's exciting to see what everyone brings to this role because it's a challenging one. So thank you.
Mr. Warren, I want to say thank you. I'm not going to repeat most of all that I absolutely agree with, but I am so appreciative of the leadership that you brought to the position. Your ability to work collaboratively, both internally across council agencies with the administration, the communication that's been critical, both outward to us all, but also communicating with individual members and staff, I think has been really critical execution of plans. We can plan, but then going forward to work with, in case the budget component, for example, and that rewrite and all that's taken. I try to give you feedback on an ongoing basis, so this is a little different, but I absolutely appreciate your work and the way you've proceeded in that work with all concerned and all involved. Look forward to your bringing forward budget recommendation. I think one member already asked that in terms of what else might be needed, given what feedback you're getting from members about additional staffing supports they'd like to see. So, and I know you'll have that. But the leadership, like I said, commitment, collaboration, execution, all of those things across the board, across entities, has just been excellent. And I thank you for that. Look forward to the even greater things we're going to all do together. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited for what's ahead. I appreciate it.
Members, at this time, we would have an update in terms of our standing committees. And we have been in receipt of reports prepared and provided by staff. If there are any additional comments that any chair of a committee would like to make, please indicate that at this time. Okay. Seeing none, then if you've not had an opportunity to read the summaries, I want to thank our staff, Will and Maria, for the work that you do in terms of really, succinctly providing an overview, but in terms of critical points. So thank you. With that, members, the agenda for this meeting has been completed. Meeting now stands adjourned.